Intro. Where is it? Here it goes. So hey there, everybody. It's JEFFMAN316, your pop culture reporter, coming back to you with what's going to be a special video. This is the first in what I hope to be many episodes of JEFFMAN316 Lives, what I'm calling it. The gentleman that's sharing the screen with me there is the one and only Peter Anthony, the director and writer of the great fan film that I've recently reviewed on the channel, Roseblood. How you doing there, Peter?
Good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. I'm honored to be part of one of your first live broadcasts.
Yeah, I've done a couple. You and I did one that you obviously didn't know that was live because I was playing around with the software. But
yeah,
we didn't dig too deep into the movie, so I thought it'd be nice if I brought you back on here and we could chat about your great fan film.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
One of the things that I think I told you in that, but I'll mention again here now, is I've always been a huge fan of the slasher genre. My favorite slasher movie is the first Halloween movie, but I think my first great series of the entire series that I liked is Friday the 13th. So obviously you must be a fan. I can see all the stuff that's behind you there.
Yeah, same thing. It's funny you say that too, because I think Halloween is obviously a much better film than Friday the 13th Part 1. But as far as story wise, I love, for all the slashers, it's up there. It's Freddy 1 through 3. But I think Friday 13th 1 through 4 for me was like the complete real slasher like saga for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I also mentioned before, Part 6 was the first one that I actually saw in the theater, and then so I saw 6, 7, and 8. I think they made those back to back one year right after another, and I call that like the zombie Jason storyline there.
They did. I snuck into the theaters for those.
For you really?
Yeah, I wasn't old enough. I was just like, so I'm born in 76, so I think I was it NC-17? So it wasn't.
If not, it was a strong R. If not, yeah.
Yeah, or an R. Yeah, so 18. So I wasn't old enough. So we would go in. Remember back in the day they had the newspaper times for the movies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we would go in and find a movie and tell my parents we're going to go to that movie, me and my buddy, and it'd be like 5 or 10 minutes difference than the other movie. One of them was Mac and Me when we snuck in the Friday 13th.
Oh wow,
horrible movie. Remember that movie?
Yeah. Well, a cousin of mine was a year or two older than me, and she wanted to go see it and then asked me, and then I didn't even tell my parents that's what we were going to see. So I just went ahead and saw that. I thought Part 6 was good. If you go back and look at it, it's way different. One of the things I always tell everybody about Halloween is the first 2 are really good. And then it's basically like rinse, cycle, repeat throughout the whole series. At least Friday the 13th multiple times tried to reboot it and do something different. Right. So like you had the Tommy Jarvis section, then you had this one. So with that being said, you obviously, if everybody saw that clip that I posted, it was the teaser trailer that you released. That was what got me excited when I saw that, because I was a big fan of that Saw kill from that Part 7. So
the weed eater.
When I saw your teaser trailer, that was immediately one of the things that drew me to it. And then I did a trailer reaction to your first trailer you released, and I think that was where you commented on there and thanked me for, and then said once the film comes out, would I review it on the channel. So I was kind of honored that you did that, because I'm still new to YouTube, But those trailers really kickstarted it for me, and I was jazzed. So why did you pick part 7 out of all of the films?
Well, first of all, thank you for reviewing. I'm just look at our backgrounds. I'm just a fan like you know, no different.
Mm-hmm.
So, 7, I always loved 7. When I was younger, I think everyone's in the same boat. When I was younger, I thought 7 was like the best one or one of the best ones. And then when you get older, unfortunately, you start to realize that it's not really one of the best ones because of the story and because all the kills are gutted from it. So you're like, so when all the time I would just every year I would go to 7. And when I didn't feel like watching the whole movie, I just fast forward to the last 15 minutes with Kane. Over the years, I became friends with Kane Hodder. I've got tons of videos and pictures of him. Me and him.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're drinking sometimes at cons or going eating together or whatever. And but right behind me, that's 7 right there. And I mean, I have the 18-inch figure, and they didn't make a weed eater for it then. So there was a guy, I forgot his name, Anthony something. He made a wooden weed eater to hold that inside that guy's one right there. So I have that signed by Kane. I have the machete, the mask, everything. I just thought, his look, I don't think anybody argues that's the best look ever.
Exactly.
You know, one of them, if not the best. And he's the stunt work he does in that, you know. They drop a roof on him. He goes through a floor. He goes through the stairs. He jumps through a French window. He gets electrocuted. He gets on fire. He gets nails thrown at him. Gets his mask split. Like, it was just nuts. And
exactly.
Yeah, I was like, man. And they killed the kills, and you never saw the weed eater kills. That's why we spent so much time and money on the weed eater kill for ours.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, if we're ever gonna do it, and the other thing too is, I don't think any other one left off where you were like really begging for more. Where at the end, because in the ones they did, they gave you more, like in 1 through 4. But in 7, you're like, what happened to Nick and Tina? You know, and Tina wouldn't just let her go. There's no way.
Exactly. Especially somebody that powerful.
Yeah, and her parents are dead, and no one, the stories aren't really matching. A monster came out of the water, you know. And then they, like I said in my movie, they grabbed the files from Dr. Cruz back in his office. Well, she has telekinesis, and the military would intervene. She wouldn't just be let back into regular public, you know.
Especially the way the house exploded. But I think a lot of people, if they are like you and I, and they're bigger fans and they dig a little deeper, they might respect those movies a little more, because if you go look, that was supposedly at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but it was like the longest burn by a stuntman on camera at the time. And for what Kane went through in his real life, that says a lot that he trusted those guys to do that. Yeah. And then also, I heard that the roof didn't collapse exactly right. And, you know, he could have got seriously injured with some of those stunts. It was some major stunt work done on that movie.
Dude, go frame. Now that, see, back when we had VHSs, you really couldn't see it. But go frame by frame when that roof falls on him. It literally just fucking falls on him. And it hits him on the back of the head, drives his face into the stairs, and drags him down on his face. I mean, that's crazy. There's not even any safety there. It's just like, hey, we're going to drop it on your head, and if you live, you live, you know?
Yeah.
It was amazing.
He did some amazing work.
Back to the teaser trailer. You want a little snippet there. I'm so glad you showed the teaser trailer, because I forgot about that. So if you want a little insight into not only what we're going to shoot again, but how that one came about, I'd love to tell you.
Yeah, go ahead. Because that's one of my favorite scenes out of the whole movie is when he gets that weapon.
Oh, thanks. So we were like, I'm like, you know, I'm decent with marketing. So I'm like, man, we got to do a Indiegogo, but like, who's going to give us money unless they know what's going on? We didn't have Laura at that point. So I'm like, we got to do something with the weed eater. There was a guy, Cody Huskins, who does cosplay. He did the cosplay for our premiere. You might saw some pictures of him. Yeah. So I'm like, dude, he lives in Tennessee. And I was like, hey, man, I'm going to pay you to ship out your outfit to Jason Brooks all the way in Seattle. Sean Lutz, our executive producer, went out and found a weed eater. We had to change the blade. We had to repaint it. We had to put a special guard on it. And then there's a video I have on the site of me downstairs in like December in my garage telling them what to do. And there's that sign that's on the ground. I bought 2 of them just to let them know what to do. And I step on it with my foot. I have the spike in my garage. I grab it. I pretend to grab it like I'm showing them what to do. And then I have a miniature Jason figure that I go, vroom, 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 and I go, this is how you're going to turn with the weed eater. So they're doing it in the pouring rain in Seattle, freezing. And I'm directing them from FaceTime phone, telling Jason what to do and how to turn. And we did.
Well, that's the world we live in now anyway. So, I mean, everybody needs to get used to that kind of direction anyway.
Yeah. So in reality, it's the first time I ever really directed. So and it was amazing how it turned out pretty decent. And the funny thing is, I'm doing another Indiegogo campaign right now, the final campaign, and we're adding 2 more kills to the movie, and then we're adding a music video for Jessica's song, The New Blood, which is a phenomenal song. That song that played,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing.
she's amazing. Get to that real quick. I'm like, hey, you sing? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you're pretty good. And she's like, oh, thanks. I'm like, well, listen, I'm going to send you like a bullet point of part 7 and some bullet points of part, Roseblood. If you think you can write something and incorporate it into a song, do it.
So she wrote it as well.
Yeah, all I did was give her bullet points, like Jason was underwater, Jason was on a chain, things in 7 and stuff that meaningful for Roseblood that she might miss just because I've watched it a billion times, But she wrote that whole thing in 3 days and sung it within a week.
Wow. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
pretty talented. I was going to mention not just her music, because that's why I was going to tell everybody, if you go back and watch the whole movie that's on YouTube right now, and I'll link to it once I save this on YouTube, but watch the whole thing. The movie's good. The ending songs, the her song, and then the music that you did. Then you've got you got the tributes, and then I'm not going to spoil it, but then there's an added little bonus at the end you threw in there. So you make it worthwhile for the fans to watch the whole thing from start to finish.
Thanks. I got to get back to the teaser trailer, but one more thing too. That mask, that mask is phenomenal. We had that mask is made by fiberglassmask.com. All my masks are from them. We took it and put it on a black. Ryan Sipolinski is my FX guy. We put it on a black skull. It's rotating. Did you see all that? And then we put lights behind it. Man, I don't know too many films that have that going on after. He did such a phenomenal job with that. And then finally, so we're adding those kill scenes, right? So if you remember, and you just played it, Jason steps on the sign with blood. So without giving too much away, I'm going to incorporate what happens before that moment where Jason gets blood on his shoe and steps on the sign. And when he comes out of the water, we're going to show him grab the spike. So I'm actually going to add scenes on from the original teaser trailer into the Manifest edition.
So do you know how many kills you're going to add right now, or are you still planning that part? 2?
2. Okay. We sold them on the Indiegogo.
I remember seeing, I didn't know whether you had 1 or 2 on there, but I thought that was a great way to do it.
You know what the great part is it went in like 3 minutes, the 2 parts. And then my buddies hit me up, Matt and Jeremy from Amos Effects, who did our effects. They bought it. So they're going to make the effects for them to die themselves on screen.
Oh, nice. That's so cool. I'm not going to dig it up, but yeah, I've got the NECA figures from part 7 behind me over there. Yep. And I got 2 so that I could put 1 with the iconic, him holding the saw. I think I've got a clip of that here real quick. If you don't mind me trying to bring that up on here and see how it looks. Yeah, let's see what we got.
That's cool. You got clips ready.
This, I think, is when he... Yeah, that's when he finds the weapons, and I thought that was pretty iconic, the way you brought it to where he looked up at the whole rack there. Yeah, sorry, it's a little choppy, but...
Fuck me.
And I don't show too much of that because I don't want to spoil it. But I just love that the way he gets that. Let me get it back on here. Yeah, the way he gets the saw. I just thought it was so iconic. Him looking up, it was almost like he couldn't believe that he was finding those weapons again.
Yeah, I basically did the NECA 7. That's what that is, a NECA 7 setup. Those exact weapons were exactly the way it is. And I don't know if you ever heard the story about how the hood never came in for his head. We didn't get it.
No, I didn't hear that. No.
So originally, Jason, remember, and he has no mask when he comes out of the water. Well, that scene that you saw him come out of the water, we shot that later because the hood never showed up. They got
really?
From Brazil. Yeah, someone stole it, actually. Someone punched a hole in the box and stole the hood out of it and the chain.
I wonder how they would have known it was in there to steal it.
The guy it comes from, his name is Horror Costumes Inc., so maybe they know every time. I don't know. But and so it totally ruined our whole idea of the film. He's supposed to come out of the water with no mask, like you saw, and then go through the whole fast team, kill everybody, and then when he looks up right there, he's supposed to grab his mask.
Well, actually, I think it's pretty unique the way you did it. I kind of like it that. So you knowing you had the missing mask, you came up with that on the fly with the guy wearing the mask and bringing
Correct.
it into the. Okay.
Correct. So I actually think Cody Newton might have came up with that. But yeah, so we had to get him his mask. Well, how the hell are we going to get him his mask outside? Well, we got to scare him. We got to have somebody wear it. Why are they going to wear it? Well, what if they scared the other guy? You know, the guy that was drinking. Okay, you know, like on the fly. So that's how we did it there.
That's
But yeah,
pretty
I love that
creative.
shot. I envisioned that shot when I was writing the film. I was like, we're gonna follow Jason low high, and just because he's so big and tall and things so high, I'm like, he's gonna like replace the middle right there. It also, if you notice, do you see what that jacket is on the wall?
Mm-hmm.
That's the pre-Uber what he wore in Part X. So
That's what I was thinking it was, because you got a lot of those like little tidbits throughout the movies. Like I said, I figured we could talk about a little bit of that. That was one of my next questions is,
okay.
did you go into it planning to, other than like, I'll go ahead and let everybody know the character of the Duke is obviously in there and he's from Part 9 or the, the Final Friday. But did you go into it planning when you wrote it to put all those like tributes to all the other parts in there? Or did you come up with some of that stuff on the fly?
No, every single one, because I had to, I mean that jacket is $1,200. I had to find locks from England. We had to find the
Wow.
exact belt with the 3 holes in it. We had to find the jacket, the chains. We had to spray paint it. We had to weather it, and then put it up on the wall. So all those items, the horn, you caught the horn one, the green horn that Brent has in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I don't know if we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that later, but yeah. So all those things, I took forever to find them all, to get them all, to put them all together. So everything was the mask one was the only one on the fly, and some other things were on the fly, including, if we get to the end scene, there was some stuff there that was come up with literally in the last seconds of us filming.
Okay. Well, to take one step back, I will let you, I was, you and I were chatting last night and I was telling you, I went back and revisited Vengeance, which was another Friday the 13th fan film. I have literally done no research on that one at all. I was wondering if you'd speak to them, let me know, how did you get involved in that project?
So originally do you ever see the movie Voorhees, the fan film?
Yes, I watched that.
I was part of the marketing for that. So
Okay.
I was actually supposed to have a small part in it. And then I got Kane to take the picture with the Jason there. And we had a marketing thing. Long story short, me and the director had like a falling out. So I just left the project. And then Jason Brooks saw me when I was marketing, because they were doing Vengeance. And it's actually a movie called Mythos then they were doing, which turned into Vengeance. And he called me. I was in Mad Monster in Arizona hanging out with Kane, and Jason Brooks texted me, I believe, and asked me if I would help him market Vengeance. And I said, yeah, man, that'd be great. So it went from there. I was trying to get Kane Hodder to be the main prisoner for that standoff. Then it was Steve Dash, but Steve Dash was too old, and it was outside, and his health wasn't that great then. So then they came up with a great idea to make Steve Riolotti, and then the part was just open. And I guess I worked so hard for it that they're like, "Hey, you want that part?" I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I'll take that part." So that's how that happened. And then can you do this? Yeah, I can do this. Can you help with the poster? Yeah, can you do this? Can you market here? Okay, yeah. Can you get us in the shows? And we made a friendship, me and Jason and Sean, and at the time Jeremy Brown, the director. So we all just kind of trusted each other and grew together.
So you're just a marketing madman there.
Yeah, I am. Unfortunately, it's a lot of time.
No, that's well, like, in order to get a project like this off its feet for yourself, you got to be able to do, wear all those kind of hats. So, like it says, you're on the screen, you're a writing director, but you also produced it, and then obviously you starred in it. How did you feel basically getting killed by 2 different versions of Jason? And so that was a continuation. If people don't know, Vengeance was like 30 years after Part 6. Jason lived, so it's that version, and then now you got the one from Part 7, and so you basically die at the hands of 2 different Jasons there.
Yeah. So in 6, remember I was telling you that I think I sent you some of the footage. There's some.
You did.
Yeah. So I fight Jason, for fans that don't know, a little bit more behind the scenes in Vengeance, but they took it out. So it didn't make the final cut. They left it just with the face off, which is kind of iconic, I guess, for Vengeance, But I at the time I was like new, so I wanted it in there. But you know, I would never complain. I was so happy that I even had the role. So when they say it wasn't in there, hey, it wasn't in there. Now with this film, it was different because I was like the father, and I just love seeing everybody else shine. And with me, it was the only payoff it was is that I was such a dick that everyone wanted to see me die. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's symbolism, and we can get into symbolism for an hour on this movie. I had a vision, the general had a vision of what he thought Rose and Tina could be. And Rose and Tina took half his vision away with the glass, and Jason took the other half. So for the last few moments of his life, he was blind and his vision was dead.
Yeah, so you got the what I'll tag is the Kill Bill kill there. So you had one eye going into that major scene, and he confronts you, and instead of just killing you full on, he takes your other eye, just like she
The
did.
other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved Kill Bill. Remember when he dies? Goddamn bitch. When she points at heads.
Exactly. But so I thought I got a kick out of that. I was like, yeah, he instead of just killing you, he pulls your eye out first. So then you got to feel all that pain.
So on the side of my head, there's these two tracks. And I don't know who did it. I don't know if Amos Effects was there at the end or if it was Brent, but there was two tracks, and inside was like this plastic with all this blood and guts and ooze put in, and the eyeball and the tendon were squished all the way into the track and held.
So it looks like it was pulled out.
So when I'm sitting around before the scene, I cannot go like that because it'll fall out. So if you notice, I'm like, we're gonna find you. I'm like that. So then when he goes to pull it, I can level out and he can pull it out.
So it wasn't just the general being like a smug asshole. It was
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Jason Brooks in that scene too. If you look at him, I'm like, dude, grab the shit out of my throat, choke me. Let's not. We only got one shot with this eye. I'm like, don't make it weak, man. Choke the crap out of me. You're not gonna hurt me, you know.
Speaking of that, I know nothing about making movies, and you said you just got into it. Did you get a lot of this stuff done in one take, or did you have to go back to? Because I know special effects cost a lot of money. And doing that on a fan film budget.
Not only that, the time, you know, we shot a feature length film in 8 days. So a lot of it was one take. So Joe Caban, Julian, when his face is ripped off, one take, man. We had him with a beard. Remember, he has a beard. So it's a beard, and then we shave him, put stuff over his eyebrows, take that face, put it on him, and pull it off. So we got one take. My eyeball was one take because it actually ruined my general's outfit with the blood. Brent Edgett, that's another one taker. When he's getting ripped through the wall, we don't have another wall.
That's true.
Yeah, that was another one taker. Other ones we did a couple of times. The Michael one, the one at the end, the one at the end, and other ones that we could do more. We did more. The MP's hand, we did that several times because his screaming was so perfect when we finally got it right. It was great. We got different angles on that. I love that scene. That was Amos Effects too.
Yeah, I liked it where he's looking at his own hand, and then when he goes down, you guys actually did a shot where he's putting that hand up almost to block Jason, I guess, instinctively, and it's the one with no skin on it.
That one was added, so I wanted that shot. So we did another pickup shot, and I was like, hey, I want the view of him looking straight up, and let's take his crappy hand and bring it in, and then have it come down on him, and then cut back to the wide shot. Those are watermelons, by the way, that were hitting and blowing up and everything. Yeah. So, but that hand is so amazing. You have one person operating the blood, which has like little sprockets in there. Then there's handles kind of like a puppet, and Brent Edgett is holding the hand while Strang is holding it, while Brent is going like this with the string so the fingers move while the other people are pumping the blood.
That's amazing. It's awesome how they do that. I mean, not taking anything away from you guys, because I mean, doing that on a shoestring budget, that's an accomplishment in itself. But people always, some people look down on like horror movie lovers. And I was like, when I was younger, the reason I got into it was because I was into art and I wanted to know how they did it, how they made it, and how they designed this stuff. So I was getting the videotapes with Tom Savini and all that stuff. And you look at the people on the floor, puppeteers, everybody doing all that stuff, and how what it takes just to do something simple. and you get a little respect for it. And obviously you have a higher level of respect for it because you lived through it. But I mean, I got mad respect for for a movie, especially the effects people of what they go through to try to be creative and do some of that stuff.
His hand, the skin hitting the floor, that was harder than showing him with no hand.
Really? Why was that?
Because the hand is hollow, right? And it's got a little meat towards the wrist, and it's like,
Yeah.
and you're trying to throw it, so it'll like fold over on itself. It won't land like a hand. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Then not only do we have to do that, but we have to throw blood. If you look, when the hand hits, a squirt of blood goes flying on the floor. So we threw the hand 10 times. It never landed right. But every time the blood hit, we had to go and get this alcohol and remove the blood off the floor. And then settle it up, clean the hand off, and do it again until we got that shot just right. So the blood hits in the hand like that. It's kind of like one of those squid things you used to throw on the wall and used to roll itself off.
Oh, yeah. The flip. Yeah.
So try getting that to land perfect. It never wants, like a finger will bend, or you know what I'm saying? It was hard. Same with the bullet. We won't give the scene away, but that bullet scene was really hard to do and not be on camera because I'm actually throwing it.
Oh, really? You threw that?
Yeah, actually, Jason Brooks might have thrown the final one on TV. We tried so many times, but then you would see our finger, so it took a long time.
Yeah, we won't spoil it, but I'll just tell people if you watch the scene where they're playing cards, and so I think they're playing cards, right? Yeah, and somebody loses and has to swallow a bullet. This guy put enough detail in the script where he addresses that bullet coming back into the story later, and I won't spoil what happens. But when I saw that, I was like, is that what that was? And I rewound it a couple times to make sure. I know somebody in the live stream that you did last night caught that and couldn't believe that you remembered to put that back in there. So did you think that? Was that in your original script as well?
Yeah, it was always written in there because I wanted something like somewhat funny and cool at the end for such a massive thing, Also, that shot that we won't say, most people don't realize that's homage to part 3. The floor we cut out and we got an $800 piece of fiberglass, and we have one of the camera guys under the building, a different building, actually the Vengeance Shack, under the building. Man, it had to be minus 10 degrees under there, and he's filming up for 3 hours. So when that thing hits the ground, remember the camera's looking right up. And then the whole
you talking about the handstand scene where he's in part 3?
Yeah, so that's
where
what
Jason comes at him in the hallway down the middle there. Yeah,
so
that's a pretty iconic scene.
Because the Weed Eater is so iconic, I wanted to make it even better. So you had the scene where you saw it, like you paused it, and then we have the end of it looking straight up. And again, you get the blood and the guts and all that. We had to do that a couple times. You had to clean it all off, do it all again. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah. The iconic scenes like that, I think that was one of the things, like I said, that's going to get some Friday the 13th fans like myself excited about these, because these fan films used to start out 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I mean, you guys did a full-length feature film. I mean, people don't realize it's an hour and a half long. I will say, just to be totally honest, if you watched my review, that was the one kind of negative thing that I said at first was Jason doesn't show up quick enough. But I'll give you credit to where at least you were creative enough and with the story leading up to that point to where you're not sitting there just thinking about that the whole time. It was almost like after the fact, the last 20 minutes are so amazing that you're like, shit, I wish he could have got there a lot quicker than that. But it's like, I know all those effects cost money, but I'll give you credit. I mean, that was a unique story. Like you said, that was the one thing I wondered, what happened to Tina? I mean, there's no way they would have just let her, loose into the world with those powers. So that's a great story to follow up on.
Yeah, and then you got, it's what happened to Tina, and then you got to write Tina the way you think she would have been. You got to sneak in Dr. Cruz, and then you got to make original characters that people like Rose. I mean, that's a totally original character, And then what else? It'd be another aspect. You got to bring in a character from a different film that people don't like, but they like the character, which is the Duke, and then weave him with an arc into it. So, and here's the other thing, not making a defense, because I agree. Some people were saying, I wish we had Jason early or so on and so forth. We had about 15 people that backed the film, that paid to be in the film. So we had to put them in the film. Some of the actors, a lot of the military guys, a lot of the lab people, so on and so forth, were paid to be in the film. So I was like, well, how am I going to do that so it's not just a boring scene? So in my mind, hopefully it worked. I used the nostalgia. So anytime those people were in the scenes, if they didn't have a huge arc, then a lot of the Friday 13th kills are meaningless and stuff. I didn't want that. So I used the Magic 8 Ball, or I used the Garbage Pail Kids, or I used the Tiger Game, or I used Nintendo, or I used Sega.
Yeah, the video games, yeah.
Operation or whatever. So like the nostalgia would carry you through those scenes in there. So remember, I had to put certain people in at certain times. So that's kind of why it was like that. And then the whole thing with the Camp Crystal Lake Research Facility, it's on the lake. So once Tina brings him, it's not like he can hang out in the building. So once he gets there, he's got to just go, ape shit over everybody. So that's kind of why I did write it like that on purpose. And when I spoke with Cody, the director, photographer, and editor, I was like, listen, taking a risk where people are going to be like, hey, there's not enough Jason, but I wanted to take that. I wanted to do something different. I didn't want a huge kill count. I wanted people to actually care about the characters. I mean, you have so many arcs. You have Tina's arc. You have Tina's arc to when she's older. You have Dr. Sykes's arc. You have the Duke's arc where he changes his mind to try to save her. You've got, what the general wants to do. You know what I'm saying? Julius, how he's trying to help have the Duke find out he's a good person. Like everybody kind of had an arc. So that's what I wanted. And when I watch some of the replays of live, people do live watch-alongs, when Rose, what happens with Rose really affects them, and they're like, no. And man, I don't know how many times you see that, at least in the last few Friday the 13th films. They seem to be throwaway characters. So for me, it was a risk I was willing to take. And I think it paid off for the people who like character development and like that whole story. I think it pays off. But you can't please everyone, and I know that. And dude, I'm a huge Jason fan, so I get it. More Jason, the better. But it's definitely, it was planned that way.
Well, the good thing about it is, like, if you pay attention to the movie, I mean, I think one of the best things you did was the wraparound. Thanks. Because once you got the original characters to come back and you bookend it with that, I mean, any true fan is probably going to be invested after that point and want to know what's going to happen just to them. But to speak to that, because you said one of your comments was that Laura Parr Lincoln wasn't signed on at the beginning when you start. Like, at what point do you, as a maker of a fan film, reach out to some of the original stars and try to get them hooked into the project?
So when I first wrote it, we did the Indiegogo, that video you showed, the teaser, and then we started getting a lot of success. I think we had $23,000 in the first 3 days. So then I'm like, you know what, man, maybe I have enough money. Maybe I could try to get somebody. So then there was a gentleman called John Wood who is friends with Lauren. He's like, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to hit her up on all these things. And he's like, oh, hit her up on this email right here. And I was like, really? And I hit her up and she's like, let's talk. And I didn't have an idea ready. Like the bookend wasn't done.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. So she and that's it.
You broke up on me a little bit there. There you go. I think you're back. Yeah, I lost you for a second, but I got you back.
Yeah. So she basically, was like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you later. Like we lost her. And I called everybody. I'm like, man, I messed up, dude. I didn't have what was ready. So remember, I never even wrote the script. I wrote the script in 3 days. So it was just in my mind. So then I wrote her part out and I sent it to her and I said, let's talk again. And that was the whole part. And what it was cruise, but we were just going to show a man walking from like chest to waist, get it? And never show him. So that's how she's like, oh, I love this writing. She went on podcasts and said the part 8 story she's ever read in her life. I'm like, what? So then she's like, well, why don't we just get Terry to do that part? I'm like, we can? And then she's like, yeah. And then she hit up
Terry. So she kept in touch with him?
Yeah. Dude, do you want to know the coolest thing ever, bro? As a fan, me and you being fans, she goes, here's his number. Call him now. She goes, I talked to him. He's interested. She sent, forwards the contact on my phone. It says Bad News Cruise on her personal phone. How cool is that?
Well, I was going to say, maybe she might have had it hid away and it said Bernie Lomax.
I was like, you have all these years and your phone is Bad News Cruise? She's like, yeah. So I hit him up and then he did it. And then we did another Indiegogo. And then I said, what about Kevin? And she's like, yeah, he's a 6-time Emmy Award winner now. So Kevin Spiritus, which plays Nick, And then I hit him up, and then I had the script then, and he was like, "Oh, I like this." So and it went from there. So amazing, dude. You got to remember, this was supposed to be a 20-minute short that I was going to shoot in between Vengeance 2. So Vengeance 2 was going to shoot a week, which they did, be down a week, and shoot a second week, which is what they did. And I said, hey, in that week when everyone's down, what if I use some of the actors and just make this little 20-minute short? And Jason Brooks, thank God, said yes, and Sean and everybody. And then from there, it just grew. I never wrote before. So when I handed them the script, they're like, dude, this is a full-length feature. I'm like, it is? So it just went from there. So it's like a miracle. It's just a passion.
Well, that's great. Yeah, because as a pop culture guy, I loved him playing Cruz, and obviously when I said Bernie Lomax, if everybody doesn't know what I mean, Weekend at Bernie's, obviously. So just to see him back on the screen, I mean, I thought that was if nothing else, it was great for people to see that character come to life once again. So yeah, I thought the book, and once you put that on there, it was gold, man. I mean, just have those two on there. Sharon. Yeah, exactly. And I know it was a nice touch to have Nick slide in at the end, not to spoil too much there, but to get the two of those two, the iconic two from their original movie. And but I will say Jason Brooks did a good job too, because the mannerisms that he does in The Vengeance, he obviously has to almost kind of sort of mimic Kane Hodder in this. And when he arrives and comes out of the water, and then a lot of the what some people don't like about Kane Hodder is he does a lot of those those head twists first, like to show what direction he's going. He had those down pat. So I thought that was excellent as well.
I love when Kane does all that.
So I had a couple questions here. One person said, will there be a sequel to this one, or another one of the official parts after it? Have you thought about doing anything else?
We thought about it. I'm gonna try to come out with a comic book first, a little like of what happened, where the Fast Team came from, and all their history.
Oh, really? Will the general be in there?
The general will be in there, but the general would have been a colonel by then. The colonel would have been a captain. Get it?
Okay.
So this would be back in like Vietnam. Because if when I did all the ribbons, I had to go online and I used some of the Army personnel. Joe Wilson, Tommy Lee Driver plays Colonel Chase. Joe Wilson plays the guard out the door. He gets kicked in. I'm like, hey man, if we were in 1988, these guys would have got their ribbons in Vietnam. You know what I'm saying? So like, I had to go on. They said, hey, you did pretty good. Like 75% of more. Like what ribbons they would have won during these wars. You know what I'm saying? So
cool.
they worked it all together like that. But yeah, I want to do a comic book about where they came from a little bit, if we do it too. It's just that we lose so much money when we do these, everybody. So if we do it too, I have the plan 100% ready to go. I just want to do an original content one of my own first, and then maybe go back.
Okay. I kind of know the answer to this probably, but it says, is there another horror series that you'd like to do a fan film of, or are you basically sticking with Friday the 13th?
Man, everybody's done so much. If I was ever going to do any, I don't know if we had this discussion. I love Phantasm and I love The Thing. So if I was ever going to,
you talking about John Carpenter's The Thing?
Yeah, but that's so hard. I mean, how are you going to do that? No, how can you use those special effects? We don't have money like that. So maybe you could do it afterwards and they come home and stuff, but I love Phantasm and I love The Thing. Those would be the two ones I would try to do. Phantasm is really curious because you could play a tall man pretty good. So
yeah, I think you could probably do Phantasm. I mean, they made some of those movies on a really small budget back then, and the fan base is already there, so you probably get a lot of people that would get a lot of buzz for that. One thing I was going to ask you about, I'm pretty sure I read this last night, and I'll actually say I didn't make the connection. Did you make it to where Colonel Chase's son is his name Julian? Is that his name from Part 8, who was the boxer?
Not Julius, the Duke's son.
Yeah, your answer broke up a little bit there. Was it yes?
The Duke's son.
With the Duke's son.
Is
okay,
Julius
I couldn't remember. I knew somebody said, I didn't catch that. I was trying to remember from the chat last night where somebody said
he calls his wife or girlfriend, whatever.
I remember that now. Yeah, he was boxing. Didn't he say he was boxing?
Yeah. You there?
All right, let me see. I had one other clip I was going to ask you about. Let me see which one this one is.
No.
All right, so this is your two leading ladies, I guess you could call here. I'm not going to show the whole scene, but this is kind of like toward the end when Tina and Rose are actually doing the confrontation with Jason. Like I said, I don't show what happens after this, so don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it. But I love the music. It's literally the music from the Part 7 original.
It's okay, Rose. I got him. Do it.
She slaughtered her parents, raised an army, these things.
So yeah, I didn't want to show much more than that because after that you'll spoil what happens, and that's what everybody I think needs to watch to see that. That's pretty cool the way you did that. But if things work out well, I may be able to interview. I don't want to slaughter her name. Is it Sanaya Lutis? Is that her name that plays Rose?
You got it. Holy shit, you got it.
Yeah, I chatted with her a little bit over the weekend, and she asked her dad, and he said that if I could set up an interview, I might could do it because I think she does an amazing job with that part, and so does the other actress. And so, how was it working with some of those younger people that really had? I know even you said yourself you hadn't done this, made a movie or whatever, but all these guys are new to it. But you wouldn't know from the way that they handled the parts. They seem pretty comfortable.
I agree. So Jessica Hotman, who plays Tina, young Tina, I put up a role on oh man, I forgot, but it's an acting site where people give submissions, and there was like 160 something video submissions. She never acted ever before in her life, and when we got the roles in, people were like, all right, what's your top 5? Who do you think this is and why and everything? And she was always in the top 5, but for me, she was always 1. And I was like, if you go back and watch 7, and this, Tina, Lar Park Lincoln doesn't have a lot of lines, especially from when Jason shows up. I mean, she's acting just like Kane, almost through
it's a lot of staring at the screen.
So what's the key factor? Her eyes. Exactly. She has these blue eyes that are captivating. Well, Jessica has these really big, beautiful, captivating eyes that these like micro acting is going on in her face and her eyes where she doesn't need to say a lot. And you see that when Rose comes out, it's not my blood. Oh, okay, are you okay? Even at the end when the Duke's like, oh, and it's like, okay, okay. Just she does such a great job. I can't believe this is her first role. I literally only even had to talk to her like a couple times, and I'm just, this is why, remember this, and she's like, yeah. So that was phenomenal. And then Sanaya, she was in Vengeance, but she's in a bunch of other movies too. But I don't think she ever had a role with this much depth. I mean, she's like the villain, then she's funny, then she's evil, then she's a bully, and then she's the victim again. So I talked to her father. He's like, she can do it. I'm like, I think she can do it too. And them together, man, it was so crazy. Like after those 8 days, that bond was so real, and I really do think it showed on film.
Yeah, I mean, it did. I thought they had a really good connection there. And when I was going back and watching her part, you said she's a quote unquote villain, but she reminds me of those Marvel villains where they're not true villains. They either got a power or something they can't control. Right. Something happens and it puts them in an awkward position. Kind of like I said, I'm not going to spoil too much, but her manifesting that's mentioned when there's the one scene where she goes behind the closed doors with the military, and you mentioned, and she did the first time, she's manifesting. I was saying, what in the world is going on behind that door? And then obviously you see the blood. And so you start connecting the dots with what happened to her parents. And then obviously I don't think I would have ever guessed what truly happens at the end, but something pretty, I don't know how you want to describe it without spoiling it, but something pretty enormous happens when they're watching the video, and the one guy, has to look away. He doesn't want to see what's happening on there and can't believe it. So I thought that was really creative, what you came up with, to not just have her match Tina's powers, but like take it to a whole nother level.
Thanks. So like when I was writing the script, I'm like, people always say, oh, you know, Jason has to stalk. So like Jason has to stalk people. You know, you got to have them be scared. You got to have these scary moments. You got to have stalking. So I'm like, well, I can't have stalking. So what can I do? Well, I could show the TV and show their reaction to the TV. That's like suspenseful, right? Where your mind is thinking, kind of like when you read a book. And then, okay, what else? Well, she's in the room. People are dying, and a knife through the wall, and blood, and people screaming, and the doctor is in the wall, and you have the side shot of the wall, and Jason on one side, and one on him. Those were these moments that I tried to create in my mind that would be suspenseful and keep the audience hooked in. So yeah, that was on purpose, because I really couldn't do anything else suspenseful, because once he shows up, everybody knows.
Exactly. You know? But like I said, I think they did a good job. But it's, to me, it's such a good mix, because that part 7 was, everybody always tags it as Jason versus Carrie. And so if you just copied that, there's not a tremendous amount you could do more with that, because they've already did so many unique spots with them in the original. But I thought you did a really good job of, like I said, taking it to the next level and adding Rose in there, but not just having her mimic Tina. The two of them played off with each other. I was kind of hoping, though, that, and I won't spoil what happens, that maybe Rose's story could continue. But obviously, you know, you or somebody else could continue what's going on with Tina, because your movie, if everybody hasn't caught on, is set back in the 80s, in 89. And you still got all these years of what happened in between there. I'll give you credit too. I was marking out with some of the posters you had on the wall. I was a big Batman 89 fan. I saw the Batman poster. You had a Terminator, I think, Rambo. So I thought that was a cool little touch for the background.
The Dragon.
Yeah, all those cool 80 iconic movies.
Yeah. When Batman came out, man, that was a huge film. That was a big thing, because there wasn't a Batman film before that since like the 60s one, 70s one. That was such a big event. I mean, just that easy, simple logo was everywhere. Remember, it was on people's shirts. It was like a phenomenon.
Trust me, where do you think the JEFFMAN name came from? My best friend in high school, we waited in line multiple times to see that. It was my favorite movie for the 80s or whatever. And so I was trying to get a personalized license plate, and he said, dude, why don't you just get JEFFMAN on there? Because everybody's like, hey, JEFFMAN, did you, or, you know, or man, you know, everybody was saying man back then. And they're like, so he started calling me JEFFMAN, and it stuck. And then as you and I were chatting that last time, I think the 316, I was big into wrestling when it, you know, in the 90s. So when you go in to put your internet handles on there, they wanted you to put a number or something in there. So the good thing about it is that stuck with me ever since the, you know, 89 is the JEFFMAN part. So yeah, I was a big Batman 89 fan, and I can't wait to see Keaton come back in the roles he's getting ready to do. So
I saw that.
Yeah.
Back to your point, if we make a 2, it will pick, I will do the flashbacks again, but in reverse. So the bookends will be 89 and the middle will be 2022.
Oh, okay.
So it'll start off exactly right after Rose, because remember, the Rose and Jason are there, remember, right at the end, and Tina's there, and the Duke's in the room, and he's alive. So right then, we would pick up right from then. So your question about Rose could still be involved. Remember, she got the shot. She has the double red eye. She's a little
That's
different.
true. Yeah, like I said, you keep at least a little. You don't give all the details away to try to make sure you don't know exactly what happens to everybody. So you leave a little, a few little threads open there, so you could continue different parts of the story or take it in multiple different directions. So I thought that was good.
Plus the end credit scenes too, if you remember that one.
Oh yeah, exactly. So you've got multiple angles you could come with this. So good job there. I mean, because sometimes they write themselves in the corners. Or I'll just tell you, the one thing I thought part 7 was amazing until the very end. I know they were supposed to film a different ending where the father was supposed to be more like a corpse or a zombie or whatever. So I marked out when I saw where you at least kind of addressed that a little bit when Jason's under the water. At least you didn't have a normal, just human looking hand holding his leg like they did at the end of that, because I think that takes a lot away from the ending of the original part 7, is having her father. And I don't know whether you even consider this. Do you consider that she manifested him Or how does he come back out of the water after all that time? You're breaking up a little bit.
A great question. So there's two different fan views on the movie. Can you hear me now?
I heard that, but you broke up right before that. I checked my end on my screen. My TV looks okay. I think it was on your end, but
all right, so we're good now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, so man, what was the question again?
We were talking about how the ending to me was a buzzkill of part 7 with the human father version coming out, and I liked how you addressed that in your movie.
So there's certain fans that kind of said what you were saying, is like, if the father, died in the lake, they wouldn't leave him. And so, but I'm so glad a lot of fans are smart, and they're like, well, Pete did what he was given. So if you have 7, that's the end of the movie. How are you going to show him in the lake, right? You can't show him on the chain like 6, because 6 already happened, and he wasn't put there. So I used what was given to me, the father's hand. Did I delve deep into it? No, because I didn't really like that ending either. But I didn't want to dismiss it, because it was actually part of 7, and I wanted to make a continuation. So in some people can construe it as that's just her manifesting Jason, and her father's like the proxy, and the father aged just like Dr. Cruz aged, or he's really holding him still underwater. I don't really address it or talk it. It could be in your mind either way. But I had to put it in there. And if I was going to do it, I was going to make the rotten arm. I wasn't going to make the regular arm.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you picked that, because like I said, to me, it's almost like it cleans up a little bit of the bad taste of the original part 7 to me.
Did you ever see the pictures of the father with the zombie? They have them.
What was that? You broke up a little bit.
Did you ever see the pictures of her father in the
Yeah,
zombie
actually,
gear,
I saw a small clip that somebody got from a work print or something, and it was like only a couple seconds of him busting out. That would have improved it drastically. So I don't know what wizard, marketing wizard, came up with the idea of changing his look and doing that. But to me, it just takes a movie that was slowly, building. You have the climax, and then it's like boom, and just takes you right out of the movie.
Right, I agree. They said, if you look at behind the scenes with John Carl Buechler, there was Lar said her name in an interview I did on another podcast. I forgot her name. She was like an assistant producer, and it was her idea to just make him dirty faced and not make him like a zombie, which is so stupid.
Exactly. Well, like I said, I think you didn't at least create any of those open moments to where you fans like me that would regret it the way you handled it. I got one more clip here that I was going to show. Let's see if this is the right one. No, that was the one we already watched. This is the one right here, I think. Who's that great looking guy right there?
Control you.
I figured, but I couldn't get you off here without letting you see your own death again. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Thanks.
It's pretty amazing.
I love when he throws it on the ground.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil the whole scene, but I figured I needed to show everybody some of the torture you went through on there as far as the character goes.
Yeah. And his fingers too. I'm like, bro, you got to like dig them into my eyeball and like close your finger and then pull it out, kind of thing, So that's kind of what he did there too. And you got to imagine his glove is like that thick, his finger. So it's really hard for him to do minute things like that. And if you look, he was able to spin the eyeball somehow to show the camera. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but the one thing I did tell you, I'm going to record a video that's going to be since my online persona is a pop culture reporter, and I'm going to pick my pop culture movies, action figures, all that kind of stuff for the year ending of 2021. I've already recorded the big heart of it. I'm glad you were able to hop on here, because I wanted to include, I'm going to try to edit in a little bit of this video. So this part here, I'll tack on at the end. There's been a lot of fan films have come out this year. I guess maybe because of the world we live in, you know, a lot of people have done a lot of things online. Some stuff have moved, like you said, production online, so it's easier to make. A lot Indiegogo is now popular. There's more fundraising, so that's the way to go. But there's been a couple that I've enjoyed, but once I saw yours, so I've created a little. You're going to get the virtual version, but in my video, I'm going to give you what it says: JEFFMAN316 Pop Culture Award. I got a little gold version of my logo, and if everybody doesn't know, that's a hockey mask because I love Friday the 13th so much. So you're going to get, it's going to be called the Jeffy, like the Emmy. So you're getting the Jeffy for the fan film of the year from my channel. So on my next video that I finish recording, I'm going to present that to Peter Anthony for a Roseblood. So hopefully that'll be a prestigious award one day, and you'll be so glad that you got the first annual one. So congratulations to a great job that you and the whole cast and everybody did with Roseblood, man. I enjoyed it, and I hope everybody else does as well. Can you hear me? There you go.
Oh man, that's so I can't wait to tell the whole crew. So I don't tell them yet until the video comes out, or can I tell them?
You can tell them if you want. I'm going to edit the video.
Can I
probably
tell them about the award, or I you there?
You can. You're breaking up again. How about I think you're there. Yeah, you can tell them I'm going to try to edit this into the video tomorrow night. So the video will be posted. I'll send you a link to it once I create the video.
All right. I'll wait till then. And then I can't wait to see the show that you're going to do also.
Yeah. So like I said, it's going to be movie and mostly movie related things and I'll have a few worst ofs in there. But like I said, fan film wise, I think you've taken it to another level with not just the references. Cause I did when I did your review, I don't know if you noticed, the thing me as a fan that I always count on is how original is your plot, how respectful you are to the source material, and what do you do with as a person who's got limited resources. You knocked it out of the park with all three of those, special effects wise, writing wise, creativity, and respect to the source material. I don't think anybody could have done a better job with the source material and respecting it that you did. So bravo to you as a fan film creator.
Thank you so much. That means so much for all of us who worked so hard on this from A to Z. Every person on there, when they see this, they're really going to love it. It makes me proud to have a team like that and to make fans like you happy like that. There is no greater reward except for Jeffy.
Like I said, maybe one day it'll be the most prestigious internet award you've ever seen, but I appreciate you coming on to what I'm going to consider my first live JEFFMAN316 live. I couldn't have done this without you. You pushed me there at the end. I wasn't going to do it yet, but then through the conversations you and I've had, you were like, just do it. I can help you if you need to get through it. So you motivated me to get through this, and that's why I wanted you to come on board to do the first episode.
Thanks, man. What an honor. So glad that we met and that it's worked out like this. And I'm always here for you. So I appreciate it. Thanks again from all of us.
And I know you mentioned it one more time. I'll put the link in there. You got an Indiegogo that you're still doing to finish the final 2 scenes. So if you want to let people know a little bit about that.
Yes. Yeah. So on IMDB, it's called the Roseblood Final Campaign. And what it is, we have some DVDs, have some more perks coming in there this week. And we have a Manifest Edition Blu-ray, which is going to be a 2-disc version, which will have a lot of behind the scenes, including Jessica A New Blood video, which we're shooting a music video for that song at the end of February. And that'll be in the Blu-rays also. They come out in April.
And I've purchased that myself. So you guys better go out there. Anybody that watches this video now or in the future, you better get out there and get you a copy of that because it's good. The movie's amazing. I can't wait to see the extra scenes you guys film. And the song that she did is amazing. So I can't wait to see that video as well. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, my friend. I'll consider you a friend moving forward for doing me this favor. And I couldn't have asked for a better first guest. So thank you. And hopefully you'll be able to make another fan film. And one day we'll be able to come back on here and talk about it again.
Definitely, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, This is JEFFMAN316, your pop culture reporter, and I'm going to be signing out, everybody. And thanks for watching the first episode of JEFFMAN316 Live. And you guys be safe out there.